Good morning everyone, me and the wobbly tarot stick are back again today to continue on with the swords. You'll have to excuse me if I'm a little bit kind of less focused or a bit more spaced out or fall over my words a bit more today than normal, but it was very noisy around here last night. There must have been some mad crazy Halloween parties going on because people were coming back all night long. They were shouting and yelling and screaming and singing. And so I was just woken up, and then by about 3:30, 4 a.m. I was like, that's it. I'm just not going to get back to sleep. So yeah, I'm pretty tired today. So I'm going to make this one fairly quick. And I'm only going to do 2 cards. We've got 5 cards left in the Suit of Swords anyway. I was going to do 3 today and 2 tomorrow, but I'm switching that round. So hopefully tomorrow I'm going to be a little bit sharper. We'll get started. Alright, so we have, having done the 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10 of swords, we're now moving into the court cards. And the pages, knights, queens and kings are the 4 court cards that you'll find in each suit in the tarot deck. So, wake up, wake up. Page of Swords. The Page of Swords is often representative of an actual person, and you'll find that a lot of the court cards do tend to represent actual people, though they can represent situations as well. And the pages typically are thought to be sort of younger people. They're, I think, sometimes called princes or princesses as well in decks. So they often have quite a young energy about them, people who are moving forwards and moving into maturity in their lives. They also represent, because it's the Suit of Swords, often people who are air signs or have the qualities of an air sign. So it's very much about mental processes, about questioning, about thinking, about logic. It can be about kind of study and all the things that we associate with the character of somebody who is an air sign. The Page of Swords himself or herself is the kind of figure who is really beginning to have a lot of thoughts. They're having a lot of ideas, got a lot of questions to ask. They're into everything. It's like a child who's asking questions continually all the time. They want to know, they want to know, they want to know. They're looking into things and they're getting excited about ideas, and they can be a little bit scattered. And in the tarot deck, in the Rider-Waite tarot deck, you often find birds, and birds generally tend to be representing thought and ideas. So you can see here there are a lot of birds flying overhead, and they're just kind of forming and they're moving and sort of representing lots of different types of thoughts and lots of different questions and lots of different sort of occupations and things keeping the mind occupied. It's a slightly, not a stormy background, but there's clouds and things there. You can see that the trees in the background are blowing, so there's wind going on. The hair is blown away as well, so again we've got the energy of wind, of movement, of motion. This is probably somebody who has a lot of energy, a lot of mental energy, and somebody who is really wants to kind of jump into things, and is desperate to grow up in a way, or is desperate to run. Sometimes this kind of person does want to run before they can walk, so they have to kind of slow themselves down and remind themselves that they need to learn things and take things step by step sometimes, rather than just leaping into the next thing. They can also lack a little bit of commitment sometimes too, because there are so many things going on, there's so many thoughts and ideas and so much to try and so much to get involved in, that they'll leap from one thing to another to another to another without really sticking with things. So this kind of personality does want to, or should be encouraged to, try to take things step by step and try to stick with things and see things through, and maybe have a bit more focus. You'll see from these stands, the way that the page is standing, kind of leaning away from the wind. Look at the grip on the sword. They're not really holding the sword in the correct kind of way. It's a bit of a loose, tenuous grip on the sword, and I think that does represent a kind of a slight immaturity, not necessarily just talking about immaturity of character, but it could be an immaturity in a situation. So it could be somebody who doesn't have very much experience with something yet, or it can be a new situation, something that's just starting, and so the person involved is really kind of ready. I mean, this page here is ready, they're holding the sword up, they're all set to go, but the grip on the sword isn't very strong yet, and they're probably a lot of posturing going on, really. So if somebody actually challenged the page to a sword fight, they would probably not do terribly well, they would be very brave about it. So often it can be a bit about having bravado and, you know, sort of really trying to present an image or convince yourself or convince other people that you know what you're doing and you're in charge and you're on top of things, and you know, you're an authority when you might not actually be. So sometimes it's also a reminder to sort of watch your ego. I think there's a really fun sort of energy about the Page of Swords card though, and about those kind of characteristics. It's the sort of person that you can't help but kind of, you know, love, even if they drive you crazy, because they have so much energy and because their intentions are really good. So with the Knight of Swords, we see quite a lot of a similar sort of imagery. The background here, kind of the state of the weather, is more dramatic. It's moving a lot faster than the clouds in the, I always pick it up on the wrong side, than the clouds here in the page. And this person is somebody who is almost like the Page of Swords grown up a little bit more. So they are more kind of ready to go. They've got more knowledge, more experience. They are really more filled with self-confidence and energy. As you can see, the birds here are really more dramatically moving. So this is somebody who has really developed the ability to handle abstract thoughts and concepts. This is probably a very, very intelligent person, somebody who would be very good in an argument, somebody who's probably very good with words, somebody who is probably very persuasive, and the kind of guy that if they're on your side fighting for you, then you've got yourself a good ally. But if you clash heads with the Knight of Swords, then you're going to have to look out, because they will go for you. I think this is a personality that can be quite ruthless, especially when they become very focused on something. The Knight of Swords as a card often makes me think a little bit about look before you leap, because this guy is rushing into battle and there's so much movement. It's so dramatic. The horse is leaping, the knight's charging. Literally, you can almost hear the battle cry. Decked up, dressed up, dramatic weather in the background. They're just going. And sometimes when you've come from a space where perhaps you've been sort of growing up or growing into a situation or maturing in your thought and maturing in your ideas, and you've been desperate to really be able to run, and you learn a little bit, you can just go and leap too fast. So this is also, I think, a kind of character or personality who might sometimes rush into situations, or might end up what we would say, I'm trying to think of the phrase, using a sledgehammer to crack a nut, going all out all the time when they don't need to, or perhaps a little bit more balance, and using that mental energy, calming that mental energy down so that they can actually go through processes and look at situations more gradually rather than leaping in. This is probably somebody who's very brave, very courageous, and they really do want to be a knight. You know, they want to go into battle. They want to be victorious. It's probably, or it could be somebody who has, you know, quite a lot of strong ethics and values, and is really fighting for things they believe in and things that are important to them. But they do have a tendency just to rush like a bull in a china shop. So I think there's sometimes a feeling that you might need to just sort of settle down a little bit. Something I forgot to mention about the pages is pages are often talked of being like the messengers. So often when you see a page, you're going to be looking at a situation where you might be doing a lot of questioning, or you might kind of be receiving a lot of messages. People might be telling you a lot of things, and you might have a lot of stuff coming in, and the Knight of Swords sometimes might react to these kind of messages or this information before they've really thought it through. So if you get the page and the knight together, you might want to think about considering your reactions before you react. You know, don't just act straight out of impulse, straight from the heart, but think it through at the same time. He's a very dramatic character, and this is often someone who's quite handsome or quite beautiful, because obviously I'm saying he because it's a man on the card, but this doesn't have to be a man, this can be a woman as well. So somebody who's very intellectual and quite attractive, the kind of person who's quite a magnetic personality, but can be a little bit domineering, can be a little bit over controlling, can rush into situations, and once they've got the bit between their teeth, you know, they're off and there's no stopping them. So it's like it's dramatic energy, but whenever you've got dramatic energy going on in a situation or in a personality, you really need to start looking to strive for a balancing force with that. Hope those have been helpful, and I will talk to you tomorrow where we will finish off the suit of swords. Love to you all, and see you later. Bye.